Hello, I'm Laura Meyer, and today I'm joined by Deborah Gruenberger, brand and communications strategist. So good to see you, Deborah.
Thanks, Laura. Thanks for having me.
So, Deborah, if we could get started, could you tell us about your background?
Yeah, so I've come to angel investment from a really different or stranger route than some, I think. I'm from a creative background. So I first had my own design agency for about 20 years, and I then moved into communication and marketing and branding and started a consultancy focusing on those topics. And I was working with startups already and scale ups and established businesses for many years, but nothing to do with finance or legal or the usual quote unquote routes that I see that lead to angel investing.
Brilliant. So, can you tell us why you became an angel investor? Why did you make that decision?
um, so it wasn't a decision as such. There was always this thought about passive income investing. But when you're on this treadmill of work, 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 there's no real time to kind of sit back. And then COVID happened, and
Right.
overnight, I lost about like not lost, but like things got paused. All my work was on hold, and I suddenly had time, and that's when I started looking. And for me, it started with a Google search, which where I literally typed in interesting ways of investing and passive income. And so I had never heard of the term before. I'd watched Shark Tank and Dragon's Den, but I just assumed that that was not a reachable thing for an average, a solopreneur like myself.
Right.
I thought you had to be, a multimillionaire to get into this space. And then I came across angel investing. I was like, oh, this is interesting. So that started my journey, a Google search.
So my next question was actually, how did you get started? But you've answered that. So Google search.
Oh, sorry, yes.
I know that's fine.
And then I
So
went, yeah.
yeah, and then I'm guessing you found Angel Academy, but we'll talk more on that later.
Yes, sure.
So tell us, what do you look for with an investment, firstly, and secondly, do you prefer a certain example, medtech, health,
Right. So the thing,
finance, etc.?
I've now been investing for 5 years. So in the
Right,
beginning, it was a very much a, you know, trial and error. I didn't, like I said before, I come from a design background. So I couldn't hang my hat on an expertise like
right.
so many of the other Angel Academy members, fintech, medtech, biotech, whatever it is, or, legal. So I basically, when I was asked, what's your investor thesis? I had none at first. And then I formulated it over the years, and it's very much, I am sector agnostic because of my varied background. But I very much believe in investing in female and underrepresented founders. And so that's my investment thesis, as
Right.
it's the people rather than the sector.
Right. Okay. And what impresses you when you meet founders?
Huh. That has changed over the years as well. So I think the way I now approach it is, would I want to work with them? Would I
Right.
hire them? Would I? Yes. Do I? So that it's about, like, I'm very much about the likability, and I don't mean likable as in I want to have a glass of wine with them, although that's always wonderful. But it's more about whether I see their integrity, the vision, that whether it resonates with me, what they stand for.
Mhm.
And in terms of that's the personality. In terms of what's investable, I think it's about that mix of vision and execution. Having a dream is wonderful, but knowing how to execute, being realistic about how to execute, really important. And the thing that I've really learned over the years is coachability. How open are they to feedback? How open are they to acknowledge what they don't know and to seek from their angels advice on the subjects that they don't know? I think that's a huge factor. A little bit of humility, confidence, but humility,
Mhm.
that mixture.
So, Deborah, I know that you work a lot with startups and scale ups and helping them with pitches. And my next question was really, are there times when you see pitches, for example, and you think, I don't think this is investable?
Yes.
What would raise flags for you? So maybe you could speak on that, but also about the importance of a great pitch.
Mm. Yes, so I've developed my whole knowledge on pitch decks again through the investment route. So I was always writing and developing pitch decks for clients before I was in the investment landscape. But that I came to it just from the storytelling and the visual side. And then when I started sitting at a table with all these amazing investors and learning from them what they were looking for in pitches, I added that to my skill set, so to speak, to advise founders, not just on what makes it sound good and look good, but also on what investors need to hear in order for the pitch to sit. And so I do a lot of work with founders on that and give a lot of workshops on the topic. You asked about what if I've seen uninvestable. So when there is a complete disparity, like disconnect between the vision and reality of the market,
right?
When there's a lack of data, very often it's surprising how often founders come after years of having been sitting in a room with them by themselves or with one or two other people, without actually doing the research on product market fit and whether the public actually or the consumer wants what they are trying to sell or create. So that's a big red flag, that lack of customer or consumer awareness, market research. The other thing is, and that's from my background as a marketer, not being realistic about how much all of this is going to cost is from a go-to-market strategy. Because again, very often you hear this: we're going to break through, we're going to disrupt the market, and we're going to do it with £2,000 marketing budget, and we're going to hire influencers, and we're going to go on TV. And you're like, how on earth are those two things lined up? So that lack of, again, reality check about what you can actually accomplish.
Yes. Okay, thank you. So what is your top advice to entrepreneurs who are looking to fundraise with angel advisors? What would you say? Angel investors, sorry.
Oh gosh, that's a topic in and of itself. Really understand the investment landscape, understand the difference between what it means to get outside investment, like how it will affect you and your business to bring angels in, or especially the whole route to VC. There seems to be a real lack of understanding of how the business could potentially change, and your life can change when you go down that route. Are you ready for it? And are you aware of the next steps? Just that's one piece of advice, because a lot of founders, I think, come into it having heard that there is such a thing as outside investment and going, yeah, I'll have that, but not really understanding the implications and whether they even need it. Can they bootstrap? Can they do it with grants? Can they do it with loans and alternative funding? Is this the right route? Are they investable? Will they give 5, 10, 100 times return of investment? Like whatever the investor is looking for, make sure that the business is scalable enough to give that kind of return of investment before you enter that journey.
And you've talked about how you help with pitch decks, for example. And when you give that advice, do you find that people want to get that advice and they take that advice on board and they will work with what you're saying on pitch decks, for example?
That's interesting. I mean, by the time people come to me, yes, they would have probably met me somewhere in a situation, had a warm introduction, or seen me speak somewhere and come to me. They are open. But I have had situations where all they wanted is to make the deck look nice and sound nice. And I would have to hold back from, it's not my job to tell when I do a pitch deck, unless I'm asked. It's not my job to tell them whether I think they're going to make it.
Yes.
Unless, again, if I'm asked, then I really will be honest. If I'm not asked, then I will just do the absolute best I can with what is in front of me. So it's sometimes quite hard to turn off the investor head when I'm the consultant head. But what I find with pitch decks, what's really interesting, people think of a pitch deck as just this presentation that's like whatever, you download a template and you just fill it out. It's actually the business plan.
Yes.
It's just a business plan in a nice, pretty shorthand format. But any flaw in the business plan will come out when you're developing the pitch deck. So it's actually a very, very good exercise to work with real advisors on this, because often it means you have to go back and fix something deeper, such as doing research, market research, or refining your strategy, or thinking about, how to prove your traction better in a better way, all those things.
And you've mentioned that, there needs to be a problem that they're solving. And is that one of the first things you'll say if you're helping on strategy?
Finding the
with a startup? What is the problem you're solving, and are you communicating that in a clear and concise way?
100%. And some things are easier to put in a word than others, right? It's for a complicated new invention, a biotech invention, it'll take longer to get to the grip, to make it sound jargon free and easy to understand than if you are bringing out a new makeup range, for example.
Yes.
But yes, finding that differentiator, that the problems. Sometimes it's a solution, sometimes it's the opportunity. Like,
yes.
Not everybody's fixing world hunger.
No.
Not everybody's fixing a world problem, but there is always something that you are doing that you figured out a way of doing it better, than the competition, differently to the competition, and it's finding that differentiator in your story.
Yes. So what advice, Deborah, would you give to new angel investors?
Oh, just good. This is good. Nike, just do it. I sat on, so I went, because my process, the way I am as a person, I'm very like, I need to first learn about things and then I do it. So I took a course with UKBAA, have an online course. I did that, with modules self-taught, and then I joined syndicates. I do recommend joining a syndicate if you are not an expert in investing, because you learn from the others. And that's the best part of being in a group like Angel Academe. But then the main thing that I sat on my hands for about 6 months. I went to pitches. I was excited, but I was too scared. And that first check, you just write, if you got it and you decided that you're going to go and do this thing, this angel investing thing, just write that first check. Get stuck in the due diligence, throw yourself into it, so that you really have, like, you're not just a bystander, and a passive. The whole point of angel investing is that you get a chance to be active, not like the stock market. This is a chance to really be part of the due diligence, to really learn and, get to know the business. So dive in, join due diligence, write the check.
And it's fascinating how much you can learn about, like we've sort of mentioned, different industries that you don't know anything about. If you're not from a medical background or a legal background, and suddenly you learn all sorts of new things, right?
Exactly. I always tell people, I feel like I got a master's degree or even a PhD in the last 5 years in terms of the knowledge that I've gained by being exposed to so many different businesses, and the people in the syndicate who come with due diligence with their incredible knowledge.
Totally. So finally, tell us, what is it you most like about Angel Academe?
I already touched on it, didn't I? I mean, the expertise and the approachability of the group is incredible. When you enter due diligence with a team, you're in a room with, so for me, again, myself coming from the communication and marketing, I'll be teamed up with a finance person, a legal person, an IP person, a tech person, and we're all together in a room or on a Zoom, diving deep, and everyone brings their knowledge to the table, and I'm like, oh, I never knew that. I didn't think about that aspect. So it's that coming together of some really impressive people to do the due diligence together. And Angel Academe as a company, as a group, they have a really great deal flow, really great way of going from pitch to due diligence, to, like, the process is super smooth and really well organized and guided. Like the day after a pitch, there will already be a WhatsApp group of people who are interested in that pitch, who want to know more. It's very, on the ball.
And of course, so important because helps female founders.
Oh yes, 100%. Yes.
Which, as we know, in this market where female founders get so little investment, it's a crucial part of the group, isn't it?
Yes,
being able to help women.
It's why I joined. I mean,
yes, exactly. Same here.
Yeah, absolutely. And the quality of the female founders that we have the pleasure of working with is amazing.
Fantastic. Yeah, exactly. Well, Deborah, thank you so much for sharing your insights today. Lovely to see you. Catch up soon.
Thank you. Bye.